I was very fortunate to get into the Cross Training Enduro Skills clinic put on by ERag Magazine at McNutt, Blue Mountain, BC. Barry, the Australian Enduro Skills training video guru, was on an epic Canadian tour with several stops in eastern Canada and now 3 stops on the west coast. First stop for us on the trail was on a section on McNutt called Museum. This is a great spot to test your skills, as it has a nice steep section of rock with several steps, loose dirt, and tree roots. Barry took the time to go over this section and discuss how to tackle it, pointing out correct line choices, body position, weighting, de-weighting your bike, and what to avoid. We then walked over to an easier section of the climb, where he talked about the use of a kicker to aid in the ascent of nasty terrain. He quickly found that this trail had a nice line up to a tree root that could be used as a kicker or jump in order to more effectively get your bike over and onto part of the rock which would most benefit from extra traction of weighted tires. Of course, he was so busy focusing on this section of rock that he forgot about the large tree root at the top.
Watch out for that
Typical
root!
Traps in places like this, and will teach you to look ahead instead of just focusing on what is right in front of you. Here he quickly explains how he managed the kicker to complete the climb by weighting the bike, stabbing the tree root, de-weighting the bike, and jumping onto the rock. Time for a few in our group to practice what they've just been shown with success and fail. A good time as well for us to learn to stand and properly spot the riders. Another tip given to us here by Barry is having a spotter when trying difficult areas will boost your confidence and enable you to do things that you may not otherwise try.
Yeah, there we go.
So back to the more difficult area. Barry now breaks down the sections and discusses how to read the possible line choices. As well, he talks about where to weight the bike, how to accelerate for the hill, where to get the traction you'll need, and when to let off the throttle in order not to spin and lose traction on the rock. Essentially, you want to accelerate onto the rock and glide over it. Counting on momentum in areas like this will not work out as well, as there's often dips and spots and loose dirt that will rob you of your precious momentum and leave you in a bad spot or worse. Once again, he demonstrates what he preached in effortless practice perfection, exactly what we all needed to see as he glided over the top with zero wheel spin. He is now taking the time to show how to climb over an obstacle like this with zero run-up by picking his line, the best area for accelerative traction, yeah, I don't know if that's a real word either, but it works here, and even a small kicker for weight transfer on the bike over the rock. There was also talk about how to keep weight on the bike while paddling with one leg to keep weight over the tire for traction, something that is discussed in detail in his training videos. If you're serious about this sport, you should take the time as I have to watch all his training videos. They're very informative and quite entertaining. Once again, it is time to practice what we've just been showing, but it isn't always easy to remember all the details of what you're supposed to do when the time comes, and there's some fail along with success here. Not so easy to ride and remember everything you have to do when staring right at a drone's propellers.
You just about hit your drone.
As I've been on and over this section many times, I chose to practice the things I just picked up on a bit tougher line and found it worked like a charm. Although in full video editor hero mode, I won't show the 2 times that I crashed afterwards. I reverted back to the full fail momentum mode instead of the weighting, de-weighting, accelerating onto the rock method, which works so much better. In total brain dead mode, I managed not to capture the entire training section we did mid-mountain on the log obstacle section built by the BMMC. I'm sure that with a bit of searching on YouTube, you can find some footage on this section. It's just as well that I didn't capture any of the footage of this area, as I suck tackling log obstacles in captivity, and it's not good for my ego to show such failure. Low speed balance skills were a big part of Barry's training here, and he had us practice riding on rock gardens such as this several times. Places like this are in abundance up here on McNutt, so it was nice to have Barry watch closely as you rode over these sections, giving valuable critique on what you were doing right and wrong. Watching a pro ride is nothing short of amazing, as you can see how everything he practices comes into play. He isn't even riding that fast here, and I really have to work to keep up. Watching this guy ride has honestly inspired me to spend more time practicing technique and less time riding like a crazy person. If you are practiced and proficient at conquering logs, roots, trees, rocks, off-camber slopes, etc., then when you come across them on the trail, they won't be something you have to figure out. Instead, you will be prepared, which has numerous obvious benefits, and the added bonus of not expending energy by doing things poorly or getting stuck. Well, sadly this day has come to an end, and I find myself on the trail leading back to the staging area of 256th Street. I've picked up some great tips today and been inspired to practice the skills I've witnessed working for someone who's worked hard, very hard, at learning them himself. Can't emphasize enough how training classes like this will help your riding and are worth the time and money you'll spend to take them. The skills you'll pick up are worth every penny and will pay in smiles every time you ride a section you didn't think was possible not that long ago. Watching the training videos offered by guys like Chris Birch, Graham Jarvis, and Barry of Cross Taining Enduro Skills are an awesome start to becoming a better enduro rider, and I have to admit they've helped me considerably over the last couple of years. I hope you get a chance in the near future to meet, ride, and learn from the friendly giant, as I just have. Just ride.